Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, Neha, Nitin, Pallavi, Preeti, Hardik, Niru, Nitish, Vishmitha. I think you are first time attending my lecture. Bhumika, Kasak, Apurva, Sania, Nayan, Anuradha, Malu, Anurag, Pooja. Very good afternoon. And it is so pleasant to meet you all again, even though unexpectedly. But for me, such unexpected surprises are very pleasant. And it has been a great 2 months around. We have been connected through various topics, discussing on so many things, and that's great. So, once again, we have an opportunity to connect, to interact. And the topic that we have at hand is a very simple topic. Yes, Tanya, Abhishek, very good afternoon all. So let me take this topic. So I'm sure before this, you all would have completed the topic on the various types of documents that are prepared in GST. Just answer me yes or no. That is preparation of invoice, preparation of delivery challan, and preparation of debit note, credit note. Perfect. Okay, great. So, fine. So let us then start with some of your doubts first in GST, and then we will take ahead with this topic. This is a small topic and not a very technical one either. So Hardik has a question, sir, in revised tax invoice, if we get the late registration, then can we issue revised tax invoice? Good question. I understood why you have asked this question, because revised tax invoice, when we are talking about, it is basically dealing or addressing the issue where you applied for registration within 30 days and it took more 15-20 days to get yourself registered. And most importantly, the date of effective date of registration is the date of you becoming liable to pay tax, which may be 40, 45 or 50 days prior. So that is why we have the concept of revised tax invoice, so that whatever supplies you made during that period from the effective date of registration till today, that is the date on which you actually get your number, whatever invoices you have issued, and obviously where you need to pass on the credit, you will make a separate B2B invoice. Where you do not need to pass on the credit and where the law permits, you can prepare a consolidated invoice. But both these invoices would be revised. Now, Hardik has a very peculiar question. Sir, what if I do not apply within 30 days? And if I do not apply within 30 days, then as per law, my effective date of registration is not going back. In fact, the effective date of registration is today. That is the date on which I get the registration. So first point, I hope everybody is clear so that we can understand what the doubt is and why the doubt is. So first I'm explaining why the doubt is, because now in this particular case, my registration effective is from today. Though I was liable to register, let us say 45 days back when my turnover crossed the limit for registration or when I indulge in any of the section 24 supplies. Now in this particular case, the question is whether I am allowed to raise revise invoice. Answer according to me is no. Reason is your effective date of registration is today, and if it is today, you can raise invoice for transaction from today onwards. Now I'm sure after me answering this there will be a follow-up question. Sir, but I was liable to pay tax from 45 days before, and in these past 45 days whatever supplies I have made, then whether am I required to pay tax or not? Answer is yes. But again, these both answers are sounding contradictory. First, I said that can you prepare revised invoice? Answer is no. Second, if the question is, sir, then am I required to pay tax for these past 45 days supplies? I said yes. Then whether both these answers are contradictory? I believe no. Reason is law makes me liable to pay tax the date I cross my registration limit or I indulge in any of these supplies of section 2. One is taxable person, one is registered person. Now, I am made a taxable person from the day I cross the 20 lakhs limit, 40 lakhs limit, 10 lakhs limit, whatever the case may be. And I become a registered person from today because I did not apply in 30 days. So my registration application was late. So the law says the effective date is the date on which you get the number. Now, in this particular case, the problem is, or the question is that when I am registered from today, can I give an invoice which is for supplies made prior to this period? This is what I'm saying. This is my personal understanding. You technically cannot give revise invoice, but you have to pay tax. So how you will pay tax? You will show it as a supplies which were taxable, but since you are not registered in that period, that is why you did not raise a tax invoice. But again, the question would be, if I am not raising a tax invoice, then how will I report these supplies? So this, I think the question can be answered in this manner, that I will be raising one common invoice today for all these supplies which I have effected in past 45 days, and I will be paying tax accordingly. This is my understanding, because I strongly believe that here the concept of revise invoice, even as per the law, does not fit in. So this is my understanding. Yes, there is some follow-up question in this. The follow-up question is, sir, we have to pay tax but cannot claim ITC. Perfect, Kasik, you're right. So, sir, no ITC, but it will be my expense. Yeah, obviously. So there are two expense rather. I believe there are two expense. One, whatever supplies you have made received in past 45 days, you don't get ITC. First problem. Second problem, if I am saying that today you'll raise invoice, one single invoice for all past supplies of 45 days, because anyways you have to pay tax. Even in this case, there is a cost, because whatever tax you are charging on this outward supplies, you cannot give a revised invoice to your customers, then will they pay you the GST? So I believe in that case, sir, we need not to raise the tax invoice. This is Preeti, I believe, in relation to what was Hardik's question, that what if I apply late after 30 days? So that is where I feel revised tax invoice should not work. So, sir, 1 month prior will not avail, but the day I was liable to the date I get my registration. So that is what I'm saying, beta. So the date when you were liable was 45 days before, correct? And today is the date when you're actually getting the number, and it is effective from today. So that is my point. Why I believe revise invoice is not possible, because I'm revising invoice means, in simple words, whatever were my past supplies, I'm raising the invoice for those supplies today because I'm backdated registered. But in your query, I'm registered from today. So my question is, can you raise a backdated invoice? So this is where I believe there is a question mark. But again, see, if you delve deep into the GST law, there is again a provision which I believe you can use, that in case of services, you have 30 days to raise invoice. Now, interestingly, can I say that even if I am not having a number at that time, in let us say in past 30 days, whatever services I have rendered, can I use the 30 days time limit? And if I raise invoice today, anyways, it will be a valid invoice. So that is why I'm saying it is a very good and a tricky question. But my first prima facie answer is, I cannot raise a revise invoice. That was the main question. Can I raise a revise invoice? My understanding is no. This is my immediate response. I will also maybe think again on this point. And second, but in case of services where the law provides me 30 days, I think there is some leverage whereby whatever service I have provided in last 30 days, I can raise a regular invoice. Why even go for revised invoice? Because I have 30 days time limit to raise the invoice. So this is my overall understanding for this particular question. Fine, beta. Tambeshwari, you're asking me to answer. Can you put a screenshot? Because I do not have the chapter downloaded right now immediately. So either we complete this chapter and then I take up your question from the previous chapter, because I'll have to download it first. Or you can just share a screenshot so that from that I can directly take up your question. Okay. Now, this chapter is dealing with maintenance of accounts and records, which basically revolve not around the documents that you'll prepare, because as I discussed, I asked you, you have already studied that in your previous sessions. So this topic is limited only to maintaining books of accounts, if I have to say in our commercial language, though this is not the language used by the law. The law has used the word books and records. So records means what? See, books means like a ledger. Ledger is a book, cash book is a book. All these are books. And then what is a record? Record is like those documents which are supporting, like invoices, delivery challans, e-way bills. These are the records. So in this particular case, The point is that we are going to study the accounting and the records part. Yes. Pallavi saying, sir, the customer may or may not be known to supplier. How can a supplier issue revised invoice if he is under the limit? Good question, Pallavi. See, that is why there are 2 points, Pallavi. When we are talking about revised invoice where you have applied within the limit of 30 days, there are 2 types of revised invoice. One is for B2B and one is for B2C. When it is B2B, your customer always wants the credit. And that is where the customer is ready to come back to take the invoice once you get registered. So in that particular case, the revised invoice works for the B2B customer. As far as B2C is concerned, I need not give the invoice to anyone, but I will raise the invoice for my records because I have to report them in my GST first return. I'm sure, I don't know whether returns have been done, but I believe yes. So the first return that you file, in that you report all the past supplies together in one particular table, whereby you are reporting even the B2C supplies for which even though the customers may not come and take the invoice from you, because as you said rightly, let us say I'm running a shop where the customers are just walk-in. They may not be my regular customers. So in that particular case, Pallavi, you still have to prepare the records whether or not the customer is coming to take that particular document. Okay. Fine. Kameshwari, let me just start with the topic and then I'll take up your question. Fine, Bida? Okay. So here we are basically dealing with books of accounts, you can say in our commercial parlance, in our day-to-day language. Now, what does this chapter covers? It covers basically section 35, which is the main section for maintenance of books. I'll just show you the section first. So it is basically section 35, which deals with maintenance of books, read with the various other provisions relating to the books maintenance. So the provisions relating to accounts and records required to be maintained under GST are contained in these 2 sections, 35 and 36, read along with chapters, accounts and record rules. So there are 2 things we always study, the act and the rules. Now, we go one by one with the question. First, who is required to maintain the books and at what place? The answer is very simple. Every person who is registered. Now here I was just discussing with you registered person and taxable person few minutes back. So let me just connect with you on this. If you read the law, in all procedural sections, I repeat my words, in all procedural sections, they have used the word registered person. But in majority of the assessment sections, which may not be part of your inter-syllabus, which you'll get at the finals, they have used in few cases registered and in many cases they have used taxable person. Because taxable person is the one who is liable under the GST law, may or may not be registered. So let us say I cross the 20 lakhs limit, I become liable to pay tax, I become a taxable person. Now, if I don't take registration still tomorrow, the law can come and catch hold on me and make me pay the tax along with the relevant interest penalty. That is why in the assessment provisions or the provisions where the department takes action, they have deliberately not used the word registered, because in that case, they will not be able to take action of persons like me who are intentfully evading tax by not taking registration. So that is why in all the assessment sections, you will find in some cases, they have used the word registered, but in majority of the assessment provisions, they have used the word taxable person so that they can catch hold. In fact, in few of the penalty provisions, they have not even used the word taxable, they have used any person. Because when it comes to penalty, penalty can also be levied to the person who may not have entered into the transaction, but who is supporting the conduct of that particular offense or misdoing. So see how the law is using different terminologies in different sections with a different intention. So when we are studying procedural section like maintenance of accounts, audit, all these are procedural sections, you will always find registered person because procedures can be made applicable only to persons who are registered. So what does section 35, 36 says about maintenance of books? First, it says every registered person shall keep and maintain books where at the principal place. I'm sure everybody knows what is principal place of business. And books of accounts relating to additional place of business as has been mentioned in the certificate of registration. So at your principal place, you'll be keeping books of both the places. Where more than one place of business is specified in the certificate of registration, the accounts relating to each place shall be kept at such places. Now, where you have specified that you have more than one place of business, that is place from where business is done, it is not a mere back office, but it is a proper business place, like you have multiple shops. In that particular case, it is advisable that you keep the accounts for each shop at that particular place. Unless proved otherwise, if any documents, register, books of account belonging to a registered person are found at any premises other than those mentioned in the certificate of registration, they shall be presumed to be maintained by the said person. So what it means, if during any type of raid or any similar search actions, your records are found at any other place which is not mentioned by you in your certificate of registration, which you have not covered in your registration, they will presume that these records belong to you. In other words, whatever entries are done in these records, it will be presumed to be your transaction. Now see, why this provision is there, let us understand the ideology. The ideology is simple. If you are keeping your records at some other place which is not shown to the government, there is a very good possibility that those records will consider or will be covering those transactions which are unreported, which are undisclosed. And that is why this particular presumption has been put in, which says that where books are found at any other premises, we presume that they belong to you and they are dealing with your transactions. Now comes the next question. What are the different types of records that you need to maintain? The most important, they have not specified the names of the ledgers or cash books or stock registers. They have mentioned what type of data they want, which means that once you are maintaining this particular data, whether you maintain in a ledger, whether you maintain in a cash book format, whether you maintain in your LIFO FIFO format, what you studied in your costing, it makes no difference to them. For them, they want this information. For them, the format, the name of the book is immaterial, irrelevant. But let me inform you, students, in the erstwhile law, that is before GST, where we had central excise, and in the central excise also before 2003, there were very strict rules relating to maintenance of books and records, where they had mentioned the names, they had given the format, and the extent was such great that in fact they had even given colors. For example, if I tell you invoice, the rules in the before 2003 amendment of Central Excise Act mentioned that the invoice would be 3 copies. The same thing is given in GST also, but let's see the difference. Over there, they had mentioned the colors also, that your first copy, original copy, should be white, your second duplicate copy, which is for transporter, should be yellow, and the triplicate, which is for your own record, should be dark pink. And that was the extent to which there was strict provisions. However, these were diluted in excise itself in 2003. And when we shifted to GST in 2017, many of these stringent rules have been done away with. So as you can see, they have mentioned what type of transactions they want in your books. What would be the format of the books? What is the name of the book? What type of columns or sub columns you use is none of their requirement. Like I can just share with you, at excise times before 2003 especially, the books or the registers, they were not books of account, but they were specific registers, were given very I can use word dangerous names, because they were very difficult to keep in mind. They were called as some annexure 11, some reg 21. And interestingly, they were so strict in maintenance, because they were all physical records, that even striking out one entry was not allowed. Even if you are striking out, or even if you are using whitener to erase that, you have to immediately inform the excise department, take their permission, take their signature, so that they will be assured that you have not done anything fraudulent. Besides that, I don't know whether you all have seen in the market, there is something called as carbon paper, which is generally used where people are making physical invoices, so that whatever they write on the original copy gets impression on the second copy, which is duplicate. This is called as carbon paper, right? Now, interestingly, because I have been studying and I was doing articleship in that era before 2003, there was a rule in excise where you were supposed to have double-sided carbon. So whatever you were writing by putting the carbon paper inside was getting impression on the second copy and the third copy. Also, it was getting impression on the back of the original copy also. So to this extent, we had stringent provisions in excise. So see how law is changing, law has changed over a period of time, how things have been. Now all this is physical. There was nothing virtual, there was nothing online. All this started post 2000, some 12 or 13, and then it got a lot of importance after 2020. And then anyways, now GST is totally system driven. So the point that we have to understand is now the rules are very much liberalized. Now I will say the rules are generalized. Earlier they were very specific when it came to maintenance of records and books. Now they are generalized in the sense, like if you remember your invoice rule also, they have only listed out what are the various line items they want. How will you place it in your invoice? What would be the format where you will put your name, your customer's name, where you will put HSN? They have not specified any rigid format. So that is your choice how you can design the layout of your invoice. Only they want the content. Similar is with the books of accounts. So what is the details they want as far as your books are concerned? First is they want your production records. So where you are a manufacturer, they want from you the proper record of how much quantity, now quantity may be liters, units, etc., of your final product was there at the start of the day, what you manufactured during the day, and what was sold or which was removed from your factory, and then what was closing. Plus, if any goods have been destroyed, there has been some theft, you need to maintain proper detailed records. Then, inward outward supply of goods. This would cover your raw material also. This would cover all types of consumable materials also, packing materials also on the inward side. And on the outward side, whatever goods you have removed from your premises, either by way of sale or stock transfer or by way of disposal, everything has to be recorded. Then obviously your stock register. The stock register, no format is specified. So practically people follow the costing format because that they have been following for their other purposes also. And costing does not mean that they will show cost. No external records give cost details. Cost details are very sensitive and very much internal. But when I'm saying they follow the costing format, it means they will follow the same bin card format or the stock control card format. They will not show to the outside world their stock ledger where the prices are given, because that is a very sensitive information for any business. Then they want proper detailed records relating to your ITC, and this has to be maintained column wise for C, S, I separately. Within S, you need to also maintain of which state S. So if it is of Maharashtra S, if it is of Gujarat S, if it is of Tamil Nadu S, if it is of Delhi S, every S column has to be maintained separately. Then output tax payable. Again, this has to be column wise for each type of tax, nature of tax, and the tax paid. And here a very important point is whenever you are reporting IGST, you also have to mention the place of supply. Because as you all would be knowing by now, that whenever you are paying IGST, that is whenever there is interstate supply, the half part of it, which is the S component, the state component, goes to the state of destination. Now, I am sitting in Maharashtra. I am making supplies across India. If I am only writing IGST, that will not make me and my department aware of where this IGST's S portion is going. Whether it is going to Karnataka, whether it is going to Madhya Pradesh, whether it is going to Jammu, or whether it is going to Kolkata. So for that, whenever you are reporting IGST, you should also mention the place of supply. And then this is such other particulars as may be prescribed. And we all know whenever the law uses the word prescribed, it means it is by way of rules. Further, the commissioner may notify a class of taxable person to maintain additional accounts. So for few people, additional accounts are required. Like in case of, if you remember, income tax, PGBP head, where we had specified books. In the specified books for doctors, there was separate set of books required for maintaining the stock of medicines, maintaining the stock of all the equipments and all the items that they are using in their hospitals. So similarly, here also the commissioner has powers to detail out as to what were the additional records maintained by which category of taxpayer. Further, where the commissioner considers that any class of taxable person is not in a position to keep and maintain accounts in accordance with the provisions of this section, he may, for reasons in writing, permit such class of persons to maintain account in some other manner which may be prescribed. So all these are relaxing provisions. Now, what are the additional records to be maintained by specified persons? As we just saw, commissioner has the powers to allow this. What are these records that are prescribed? First, in addition to the records which are mentioned above, the rules provide that the registered person is required to maintain true and correct account of. Now, what are the records they want? They want the details from you regarding your import and export. Again, in export, there are two options: with payment, without payment. So you have to maintain that separately. Then where your inward supplies attract are seen. So they want you to maintain proper relevant details, which includes the different types of documents. Next, separate account of advances received, paid, and adjustment made thereof. Then particulars of names and complete addresses of supplier from whom he has received the goods or services chargeable to tax. In short, details of all your suppliers and vendors. Names and complete addresses of the person to whom he has supplied. So details of all your customers. I got a very beautiful question. The student is asking me, sir, इस chapter में किस तरह का question आता है? Answer is simply go to the end of every chapter. What is asked in exam, you will find there. Means what? The nature of question, the type of question, the type of answer also they expect, that is given. That is the best part of our module. So you don't worry when it comes to understanding what type of questions are asked. At least 80% of your paper of this subject will be from what you study in the module itself. 20%, which may appear to you different because the language is different, the question phrasing is different. It still relates to some or the other concepts discussed in the module, but it is asked in a different manner. Then further, what are the details? Particulars of complete address of the premises where goods are stored. So if you are storing goods somewhere else, in some godown warehouse, you need to give the details of that godown warehouse as well. Further, what it says, if any taxable goods are found to be stored at any place other than those so declared, without the cover of valid document, the proper officer shall determine the amount of tax payable. So it means if it is found that your goods are stored in some other place which you have not declared to the government, so it becomes an undisclosed premises, or which is without the cover of valid document. That is, you have made purchases, but you do not have the purchase invoice. In that particular case, the proper officer will determine the amount of tax payable as if such goods have been supplied. So in such a case, they will assume it to be your supply sale, and accordingly, they will compute your tax. A supplier is required to maintain following records relating to stock of goods and details. However, a supplier who has opted for a composition scheme is not required to maintain such records. Now, what are the records relating to stock? First, account of stock in respect of goods received, supplied, and such account shall contain particulars of opening, receipt, supply, goods lost, stolen, destroyed. So it is nothing but like your stock register, maybe with these additional columns of goods which are lost, destroyed, written off, given as pre-sample, or which have been in the form of waste or scrap. Second, the tax component, account containing the details of tax payable, including tax payable under RCM, tax collected and paid, input tax, input credit, together with register of tax invoice, etc., etc. So as you can see, it is very simple, straightforward, given what details and in what manner they want. Now, if you are an agent where you are working on behalf of some other person, in such a case, an agent who is working on behalf of some other person has to maintain following further details. First, particulars of authorization received by him from each principal. So sort of I will say you should maintain the contract, because that is where all these authorizations are given as to what as an agent is expected from you, what are your roles, what are your duties, etc. Particulars including description, value, and quantity of goods service received, which is on behalf of principal. Particulars including description, value, quantity of goods, service supplied, again on behalf of principal. Details of accounts furnished to every principal. Now, what is this detail of accounts furnished to every principal? If you remember your topic of consignment account, in consignment account, we had this concept of, I think it was called as account sales or account current, where periodically the agent was giving the details of whatever he has sold, whatever collection has been made, whatever expense has been made by him on behalf of principal. The agent used to give the details to the principal, and those details were called as, I think, account sales or account current something. So that is what is mentioned over here. You have to give the details of the accounts which you have periodically been sending to your uh, principal. What is weight of this chapter? But I did not weigh this chapter because the chapter is bound in the whole module. So I'll have to weigh the whole module. So, but if I take only the print of this chapter, it should weigh some 70, 80 grams. I know it was a bad joke. Fine. Anil Army is asking me, sir, ICAI will not move out of ICAI module, right? Wow. This is interesting. And some army person has asked me, so it is even more difficult for me to answer. Sir, ICAI will not move out of ICAI module, right? Acha, firstly, when I read half, and I always have the habit of processing as I'm reading. So I read it like ICAI will not move out of ICI. And then I only read right. So I was just thinking, how can ICI move out of ICI? Then later on, when I read this question twice, I understood the intent of this question is related to my previous point where I mentioned that 80% of your paper is from the module. So I think that is what Anil wants to know, that it will not happen na, that ICI will go out of the module and ask something else. Yes, Tamreshwari, I understood. That was a joke. So don't worry. Everybody understands when a student asks, sir, what is the weightage of a chapter? Correct. So it should be between 5 to 7 marks. Beta, Mahi, I like enjoying such questions because that is what makes me more engrossed in the lecture. In fact, I entertain such questions which may sound a bit weird, but yes, and intentfully I read the questions differently at times to create that pun. Okay, anyways, so Anil, I hope you got the answer that see, ICI has all the rights to get out of ICI module, but they never do it because module in itself is complete Bible. It is the complete Bhagavad Gita and Quran of the syllabus that is expected. So how can they move out? Yes, you cannot expect that they will ask the question exactly in the same language what is printed behind, but that much is only the difference of language, which if you have understood the concept and the question and the answer, I'm sure even if it is asked in a different manner by changing the grammatical part, I don't think that should be a problem. Similarly, when it comes to practical, anyways, right from your childhood, you would have seen that no practical sum can be claimed to be same as what was in module. Definitely, some questions you will find similar with change in the figures, but many times the questions are obviously with a different flavor. That is the beauty of practical. Exactly, Preeti. You're right. So, coming back, tax paid on receipts, supply of goods effected on behalf of every principal. So, this covers the details of whatever taxes the agent has paid on behalf of the supplies made for the principal and where it is RCM on the basis of receipts made for the principal. Then, as a manufacturer, what are the additional records? Apart from other records, every registered person manufacturing goods has to maintain monthly production accounts showing quantitative details of raw materials used in the manufacture and the quantitative details of goods so manufactured. This is why, so that tomorrow they can apply the input output ratio to check whether are you showing inflated purchases, maybe because of income tax to get lower tax over there, or are you showing reduced sales to avoid your output tax or to get the benefit of not paying tax from your pocket? So with the intent of identifying that somewhere are you fabricating your accounts, they want these details from a manufacturer, basically to establish the input output ratio so that they can compare it with in the industry standards, or they can compare it with your own past year's input output ratio to see whether things are going in the same pattern. Service provider. Every registered person supplying service has to additionally maintain the account showing quantitative details of goods used in providing the service. So like in case of the chartered accountants, what are the goods that we use? It is basically the stationery. So majorly the goods that we are using is stationery, and at times you can say different types of books and publications that we keep on buying and reading. Details of input service utilized and these services supplied. Fine. Then if you're a works contractor, engage in construction work, in such a case, the details that you need to maintain is keep separate accounts for each work contract. So let us say you have got different projects going on. One is the construction of a mall, another is construction of some expressway, another is construction of some metro. So for all these different projects, you have to maintain project-wise details of first one, names and address of the person from whose behalf the contract is executed. So in other words, you mean to maintain contractees details, same like how you are maintaining your suppliers and customers details. Here you are maintaining your contractees details. Then description, value, quantity of goods, services received for executing the works contract. So whatever inputs you are using, like generally cement, steel, all these things. So a quantity. Again, why? To establish the input output ratio, that if you are showing you have used so much of cement and steel, so from this, how much kilometer of road generally can be constructed? If there is a big variation, then inquiry can be done to see whether have you inflated the purchase to get higher benefit of ITC and benefit in income tax, or have you suppressed your sales? So that is what is the purpose. Details of payment received in respect of each works contract and the names and addresses of supplier from whom you are getting your inward supplies. Then if you are a clearing and forwarding agent, any person having custody over the goods in the capacity of carrier, clearing, forwarding agent for delivery dispatch to a recipient on behalf of registered person shall maintain the records in respect of such goods handled. So basically, where you are acting as a clearing forwarding agent, where you receive the goods and your work is to get it exported, or where some goods have come, your job is to import and keep it in warehouse and then give it to the person. Then you need to maintain the details of these goods that you have handled, and for which person you have handled, you have to keep those details. Then if you are a warehouse keeper, again, what details you need to maintain? The owner or the operator of warehouse, which is used for storage of goods, and also the transporter, irrespective of whether he is a registered person or not, shall maintain records of who is the consignor, consignee, and the details relating to the goods, that is the nature of the goods, maybe the HSN, the quantity, etc. Enrollment, if not already registered in GST. If such persons are not already registered, they shall obtain a unique enrollment number by applying electronically in this form at the portal. The person enrolled as aforesaid in any other state, union territory shall be deemed to be enrolled in the state. Such person may also amend the details furnished in the prescribed form. Such persons, once obtain unique enrollment number, shall not be eligible to use any of the GSTIN. So enrollment number is what? Where you are not having a registration number. So for doing the temporary compliance, like I'll tell you what is this temporary compliance. Now the temporary compliance is many times as a transporter, you have to raise e-way bill. For this e-way bill also, you can use this enrollment number. Transporter, any person engaged in the business of transporting goods shall maintain records of goods transported, delivered, goods stored in transit by him, along with the GST number of the consignors and consignees. Then, I think this is repeated, na? Owner, operator of warehouse go down. Okay, every owner, operator of warehouse shall maintain books of accounts with respect to period for which particular goods remain in the warehouse, including the particulars relating to dispatch, movement, receipt, disposal. So as you can see from the heading itself, now you can understand what is the nature of details they're asking and why. So from a transporter, the nature of detail is different, and from a clearing, forwarding, and from a warehouse keeper, the things are changing slightly. There may be something common, but otherwise many things are specific to that particular person. I have some questions. Sir, can we get expert knowledge in GST through practical exposure like filing GST returns, claiming ITC, calculating? Yes, beta. So don't worry. As Anil, you get into articleship, you will get the world's best practical exposure, and that also not only of GST, of all the subjects that you'll be handling in your office. So I always strongly recommend students that whatever importance you are giving to your studies in the form of attending lectures and solving papers and all, 10x should be your importance for your articleship, because whatever you learn from books will only add to 25% of your actual domain knowledge. Remaining 75% of the knowledge you gain, one, from the practical work that you do, and two, from whatever you observe around you when you are doing this work, like discussion with your peers, attending various other conferences. So please do lot of give lot of importance to articleship. As I said, na 10x importance what you are giving to your studies, 10x importance you should give to articleship, and accordingly you should take up articleship. Yes, Nitish. Sir, construction company have project of residential apartment. It's eligible to take ITC? No, beta. Shiv Kumar. In the present scenario, it is not applicable, because now post 1st April 2019, when a person is constructing residential apartment, where the GST rate applicable on residential apartment flats is either 1%, if it is what is the word called, um, and the other rate is 5%. So whenever it is 1%, 5%, no, not RERA Metro. Flats up to 45 lakhs are called something where the rate is 1%. I'm forgetting the word. Fine. So wherever the rate is 1%, 5% on output, it is in case of residential flats, and in some cases even on commercial shops, you are not eligible for ITC. Yes, mutatis mutandis means, see, when something is written and I want to repeat the same thing with only few changes. So instead of writing the whole paragraph again, I'll say this paragraph is mutatis mutandis to the previous paragraph, which means this paragraph is same. First, mutatis means same. Mutandis means with necessary changes. So let us say the above paragraph is for transporter. The next paragraph is for warehouse keeper. And I want to say that both paragraphs are same because both are containing the similar type of information. The only difference is over there, it is saying that this is for transporter. Here, I want to say that this is for warehouse keeper. So I will say in the warehouse keeper heading, I'll say the paragraph is mutatis mutandis to the transporters paragraph. I did not get your point, Hardik. Commercial carpeting is 5%, is 15%. I did not get your point. Okay. Now, how accounts and records are to be maintained? Now, this is a very common doubt. Okay, sir, do I need to maintain my accounts and records compulsorily in electronic form, that is using some computer and software? Two, if I'm maintaining in electronic form, do I need to compulsorily take a printout of all my accounts and registers and records? Second question. Third question, can I keep it in my laptop or can I also keep it on cloud? Because nowadays we have this cloud computing concept whereby many of my details, not only accounts, many of my office data is not kept with any of the staff members. It is on the cloud, it is on the server, and they have to connect to that cloud or to the server and access it from there directly. In such a case, whether maintaining your books of accounts, which is in cloud, see, when you say cloud, it is not even directly in your laptop. When you log in, then only you get access to that record. So technically, it is not even in your laptop. Whether all these things are allowed, the answer is yes. Answer to all these questions is yes. Whether manual maintenance is allowed, yes. Where electronic maintenance is done, do I need to take a printout? Answer is no, not necessary. You can always show them in your laptop or in your system that see, I have maintained it electronically. Third, if it is maintained at cloud, whether you need to compulsorily have a backup. Here, the answer I believe should be yes, that even though if it is maintained in cloud, it is always recommended that you should take a periodical backup that is also for your own purposes plus also for the purpose of compliance. So let us go ahead. Records may be maintained manually. Each volume of books of accounts maintained manually by the registered person shall be serially numbered. Fine. Records may be maintained in electronic form. Books of accounts include any electronic form of data stored on any electronic device. So it may be any type of electronic device where you can maintain the records. The person, registered person, may keep, maintain such accounts and particulars in electronic form stored on any electronic device, and records so maintained shall be authenticated by means of digital signature. So this also we know, online records or digital records, what is the proof that they belong to you? Like on physical records, we put our signature physically. So for all online records, you have the digital signature. So these have to be digitally signed. No, Anil Bida, that is not possible because for getting any registration, you need to have address proof. So till now, they have not come up with any specific circular not requiring the address proof. So that is required. Then this is the point where I was mentioning where it is on cloud, you should take a backup. So proper electronic backup of record shall be maintained and preserved in such manner that in the event of destruction of such records due to accident, the information can be restored with a reasonable period of time. The registered person maintaining electronic records shall produce on demand the relevant records or documents duly authenticated by him in a hard copy or in any electronically readable format. Now, this is again interesting that you may be maintaining record in any format, but on demand. Demand means when the officer either comes for audit or when he is conducting any type of inquiry audit from his premises, he may demand the relevant records duly authenticated by him, either in hard copy or even in your electronic copy. So if he asks in pen drive, you have to give it in pen drive. If he asks you in physical form, you should give it in physical form. So you may always say, sir, I have maintained in electronic form. I'll give you the access either in the form of some pen drive or some key. That is fine. Manoj is asking, SAP package can valid for GST? Yes, 100%. Hardik, what do you mean by SCN? SCN is show cause notice. What is your question? Next, where the accounts and records are stored electronically by any registered person, he shall on demand provide the details of such files, password of such files, and explanations for codes use where necessary for access and any other information which is required. So if your accounts are maintained in electronic form, you need to allow me the access to those by giving me the password and the other relevant details. No entry to be erased or overwritten. Now you can find similarity between this and what I mentioned about excise records. Over there also striking out using the whitener was all not allowed, and if that happened, you need to immediately report the officer. Here also some similar point is put that no entry should be erased. Any entry in registers, account document shall not be erased, effaced or overwritten. All incorrect entries otherwise than those of clerical nature shall be scored out under attestation, and thereafter correct entry should be recorded. Now, whose attestation? Your own attestation. You need not go to the department. Where the registers and other documents are maintained electronically, a log of every entry, edited, deleted, shall be maintained. Now, this is what, if you know, I think from 1st April 2023, this has been made compulsory. And if I'm not wrong, it has now become part of even your audit and company law itself, that now whatever software you are using, that software should have this particular functionality of maintaining a log of those entries which you have changed or audited, which is also called as audit trail. Yes. Yes, Pallavi, you are right. Yes, correct, Pallavi. Audit trail with edit log. Now, accounts maintained by the registered person together with all the invoices, bills of supplies, credit debit notes, delivery challan relating to stock, deliveries inward, outward, shall be preserved. Now, this is important. What is the time limit for preserving it? This is mentioned in section 36, where such account documents are mentally be kept at every related place of business mentioned in the certificate of registration and shall be accessible to every related place of business where such accounts and documents are maintained digitally. So if you are maintaining physical, the copies should be at the place which is mentioned above, that is principal place and every place of business. And if it is digitally, then wherever you are, if an officer comes for checking in that particular premises, you should have the facility of giving him the access from those premises. That is what is required. Every registered person shall on demand produce the books of accounts which he is required to maintain under law for the time being in force. What are the consequences? Now we all know where law provides something that this should be done, this should not be done. And if you do not comply with the law, the consequences are always penalty. Here there can be no interest because there is no tax evasion as such. So here there is only penalty for not complying with the provisions of law, what it is. Where the registered person fails to account for the goods services in accordance with provisions of 35, the proper officer shall determine the amount of tax payable on the goods, service or both that are not accounted for, as if such goods, service or both have been supplied by such person. And the provisions of 73, 74 as the case may be, shall mutatis mutandis apply. So where you have not maintained proper accounts, and if the proper officer comes to know about any of your supplies which you have not recorded, then he will proceed with determining the tax liability. And for this, the action will be taken by him under 73, 74, which is the period for issuing the notice, not period, which is the provision for issuing the notice. Then, most important question, until when are you supposed to maintain these records? You are supposed to maintain and preserve these records for 6 years. 6 years from which date? From the date of filing of annual return. So this financial year 23-24 is ended, and for that the time limit for filing your annual return is today. So today is the last date for filing the annual return for the year 23-24. Now in this particular case, where today is the last day for filing your annual return for 23-24, from today 72 months means 6 years would be counted. Now let me tell you an interesting logic. Even in income tax, even in GST, from where do they determine this 6 years time limit? Like in income tax also they have a different time limit. In some cases it is 6, some cases it is 10, it is also 16. Now how do they determine for what period you need to maintain the books of account? The answer is simple. The period until which the department can take action against you, that is, they can do your inquiry, assessment, audit, etc. Till that period, you need to maintain books. Correct? Yes, Pallavi. So it is 8 years for company law. See, effectively, even for income tax and GST, it anyways becomes 7 years approx. No, Anil. Practically, your registration application will be rejected if you have not uploaded the rental agreements. See, Preeti, when the law is saying it is 6 years, that is 72 months. After the 72 months are over, you may destroy the records. That is what it means. That is, you need not keep a copy. Nobody will ask you to give you a copy of any records which is older than 6 years or the time limit given over here. Yes, Nitish. Company law says 8 years. However, a person who is a party to an appeal revision, so already your appeal has started, now your matter is in court, or in other proceedings before appellate authority or revisional authority or tribunal or court, whether filed by him or by the opposite party. So either you are filing the appeal or the department, that is commissioner, is filing, or is under investigation for any offense under this chapter, that is chapter. The subject matter of such appeal, revision, or proceedings or investigation for a period of 1 year after disposal of such appeal, revision, proceedings, investigation, or for period specified above, whichever is later. So where any action is taken against you and you are in courts, you are in tribunal fighting against that particular action, then your maintenance period obviously will increase. Till when? Till this particular inquiry investigation is closed, and even after that, up to 1 year, you should preserve those records. After closure of your inquiry, investigation, appeal, etc., after 1 year, you can destroy the records, and that should be fine. I hope this is clear to all. Let me take the doubt of Tambeshwari. She had asked me a doubt, or she has shared some image. No, I am not able to see it clearly what it says. In this, which question, beta? There are so many questions put here. Which question you have a doubt? Question 7. But where is the numbering? Acha, beta, it is delivery challan. So the question 7 is, which document is required to be issued in case of transportation of goods for reasons other than supply? Where there is supply, the document is invoice. Where there is no supply, the document is forgot what? Delivery challan. Yes. Yes, students. What else are your doubts? ये 1 year वाला क्या अगर इंस्पेक्शन 6th year में हुआ तो हमें 7th year दैट इज 1 year मोर देन 72 में नहीं सी बेटा वेन एवर एनी इंस्पेक्शन अपील और एनी ऑफ दिस एक्शन स्टार्ट्स तब तो आपको यस वो 6 years में स्टार्ट होनी चाहिए क्योंकि 6 years के बाद वो कर भी नहीं सकते जैसे मैंने आपको पहले लॉजिक बताया कि 6 years यहाँ पे या इनकम टैक्स में जो भी टाइम लिमिट है वो आया कहाँ से जितना टाइम डिपार्टमेंट के पास है आपके ऊपर एक्शन लेने का दैट इज द टाइम लिमिट अंटिल विच यू हैव टू मेंटेन द रिकॉर्ड्स अब उस टाइम लिमिट में अगर डिपार्टमेंट एक्शन शुरू नहीं करता है एंड इवन इफ इट स्टार्ट्स एक्शन आफ्टर दैट anyways the action of department is ultra vires you can challenge that in court but let us say the department has started the action within the time limit here let us say 6 years last year जो आपने कहा नीतीश 6th year में स्टार्ट किया let us say in the last month for example दिसंबर में ही चालू किया but they have started their investigation in time now let us say this entire inquiry investigation then converting into adjudication appeal etc goes for 5 years so क्योंकि अभी आपका वो इंक्वायरी इन्वेस्टिगेशन उसके आगे का जो भी मैटर है वो चल रहा है उसके बाद आप अपील में गए तो जब तक ये सब चल रहा है तब तक तो आपको रिकॉर्ड्स मेंटेन करने ही है प्लस जिस दिन ये अपील का रिजल्ट आ जाएगा जिस दिन आपका इन्वेस्टिगेशन क्लोज हो जाएगा उसके बाद और 1 साल सो दैट अगर उस पीरियड में डिपार्टमेंट को अपने ही एक्शन को रीस्टार्ट करना है उनको रिवाइज करना है दे कैन वेरी वेल डू इट नीतीश आई होप दिस इज क्लियर यस fine students just allow me 2 minutes Okay, so let me take your questions further. Tambeshwari, please share whatever doubts you all have now. Whenever you are referring to any other chapter, please share that here so that it will be easy for me to. Kasak is asking, sir, when we issue invoice, it's uploaded on e-way bill, and where delivery challan is issued, it is also included in e-way bill. So, sir, it will automatically be in GSTR 1. I did not get your question, but what I understood, Kasak, is see what happens, Kasak. If you have raised delivery challan and e-way bill is raised on the basis of delivery challan, then again the same thing will not be reflected when you are raising invoice. In other words, there will not be again an e-way bill for the invoice. I'll give you an example. Let us say I am dispatching the goods today, which is on sale or approval basis, where since today there is no supply, the document which I am using will be delivery challan. So I have used delivery challan for sending the goods to you because it is on approval basis. There is no sale or supply confirmed by now today. Now in this particular case, I raise e-way bill because today I have to do movement and movement requires some document. That document is delivery challan. On the basis of delivery challan, I have issued or I have prepared the e-way bill. In this particular case, when I've prepared the e-way bill on the basis of delivery challan, understand this. After 1 month or whenever you give me confirmation, I will be only giving you the invoice, which will be giving the reference of this delivery challan and e-way bill. But there will be no e-way bill again for this particular document. I hope I have answered your question, Bida. Sir, quantitative details means in value or quantity or both. See, quantitative details, Abhishek, will always mean the details of quantity which I mentioned. It may be there in form of units, kgs, etc. Only when they use the word value, it would be in terms of rupees. Uh, yes, Hardik, you should prepare for that section. I don't recall whether your TDS chapter includes section 194T. If your TDS chapter includes 194T, which I believe it should include, so I believe still you should prepare for this. That is TDS applicable on partners remuneration. Yes, Nayan, you can generate e-way bill on the basis of Challan. Kambeshwari, beta, please share your question, whichever page you are referring to. Students, kindly maybe we can use this opportunity to take doubts of your previous topics or chapters. So wherever you have any particular questions or doubt, please either ask me orally, or if there is something relating to any particular illustration or something, please share that illustration. Yes, students, I'm waiting for your inputs. Ambeshwari beta, whatever it is okay, but you just put me because I cannot keep on switching the chapters now because I may or may not have that chapter. What is this chapter? Can you name the chapter? If I have it downloaded, I'll immediately open that. Okay, I'll take that beta. Yes, others, what are your questions? One second. Yeah. I have been informed, and I'm also seeing queries from different chapters. So if you all have queries, just put me the names of the chapters. Like somebody said composition. Somebody is also saying which part, beta Preeti, you want me to explain? Acha, you are sharing some image. Okay. The names which I have got is composition, time and value. Somebody also mentioned, I think, input tax. So let us take queries on any of these topics that you have. So I'll have to but open these topics. I don't have them downloaded. Fine, I'll download it. In the meantime, you all just post me what are your doubts or topics where you want me to discuss. Okay. Preeti, which part in this you want me to explain? How e-invoice data is consumed by GST system for generating e-way bill or populating relevant part of GST return. Is this question that you are asking, Bida? Preeti? Okay, first and second both. Second is what? Cancellation amendment of reported invoice. Okay. See, so the first question that I'm having, which is from Preeti, is about invoice. The question is, she has taken from page number 10.24. So the image which she has shared, I don't know whether you all can see it on my screen. So the image which she has shared is from page number 10.24. The question is how invoice data is consumed by GST system for generation of e-way bill or for populating relevant parts of GST returns. Okay. See, there are three different things. We need to first understand those three things. First is your invoice. Second is e-way bill. Third is the GSTR1 return. And the fourth is GSTR2A, 2B of your buyer. And the fifth is your 3B. Now let me inform you students. Our GST system is slowly and steadily moving towards the Denmark system, whereby there would be a time when your return would be prepared by the department website like the GSTN or the income tax website, and it would be only given to you for cross confirmation and only for payment of tax. So we are slowly and steadily moving towards the Denmark methodology. Now, how this is possible? This is possible by first ensuring that we do the recording or reporting of the transaction at the inception itself. That is when the transaction happens. So the moment the transaction happens, if we record it, if we report it, then all further details can be taken care of by the government software. So now, even in income tax, if you would be knowing, there is something called as 26AS, there is something called as AIS, there is something called as TIS. All these are the documents which are prepared by the income tax and given to you. And these documents are nothing but containing the summary of whatever transactions you have entered into during the year, whatever incomes you have got, whatever TDS, TCS people have done for you, so that government is indirectly informing you, see, this much data we have about you, and we expect that you disclose everything in your returns. Slowly and steadily, as this system driven compliance is going to increase, slowly and steadily, as each and every data and information gets tracked by the government, they would reach to a level where your returns would be auto prepared. In fact, in GST today also, your GSTR 3B is more or less auto computed by the software itself. Now, how this works? They have started with this concept of invoice. First, let me clarify about invoice. It is a misunderstanding that e-invoice means preparing the invoice on the government portal. This is wrong. E-invoice is not preparing the invoice on the government portal. E-invoice is you prepare the invoice in the method what you want. It may be manual, it may be on any of the softwares, it may be on the ERP system. So you prepare the invoice in the normal manner what you are following, whatever system you have in your organization. Then that invoice, what you have prepared in your system, you have to open the government's e-invoice portal. If I'm not wrong, they have given around 12 different portal links. You open them and there are different tabs given, there are different line items given where you need to feed some respective information from your invoice to the government's portal. That is the e-invoice portal. So let us say they want your details would be auto-populated because if you're logging in with your GSTR ID, your details will get auto-populated. You need to give the details of your customer. You need to give the details of the goods, the value, the GST rate, etc. So these details, once you put into the GST's e-invoice portal and you submit, these details get updated in government records that yes, you have entered into this transaction with Vishal Poddar. Now, once they have updated their records, as a confirmation, they give you the IRN, which is a type of an acknowledgement number, which is a 64-character number, where this IRN is your acknowledgement number stating that they have recorded your invoice. It means now they know that you have entered into this transaction. Now, once this is done, since this is a transaction which is now completely on the government portal, government knows the details of this transaction, supplier, buyer, nature of goods, etc., etc. They start updating the other details. What are the other details? First, on the supplier's end, let us say I am the supplier of this transaction. They will update my GSTR1, which also requires me to update the invoice details. Second, they will prepare the e-way bill. Now, if you know, e-way bill is prepared in two parts, part A, part B. Part A is nothing but again your invoice details, and part B is the vehicle details. Now, vehicle details you also don't know, that is put by the transporter. If you are hiring a transporter, if you are sending by your own vehicle, you even know the part B details. Otherwise, part B details are filled in by your transporter. But part A are your invoice details, which earlier, before this e-invoice system, you were punching in the e-invoice, in the e-way bill portal. Now, since you have already punched these details in the e-invoice portal, the e-invoice portal will automatically auto-populate these details in the e-way bill portal because e-way bill part A is nothing but your invoice only. So that much work of yours is reduced. Now you need not prepare the e-way bill separately. Only the other part B, and the updation of e-way bill would be pending. Then it updates your GSTR1 and also it updates your 3B because 3B is prepared nowadays on the basis of GSTR1. So once your GSTR1 is filed, 3B gets auto-populated from GSTR1. And at the customer's end, once you have reported this e-invoice details, it will start auto-reflecting in the customer's 2A, 2B. So this is how, Beda, I think I've answered your question that how this particular point happens, which was the question ki how e-invoice data is consumed by the GST system. Fine. Then we ask second point also. What is the second point? Yes. So the second point is about, if I'm not wrong, cancellation. Now see, once you have uploaded an invoice on the e-invoice portal and it is been updated in the government records, they have given you the IRN. It is not, I repeat, it is not possible to amend in the e-invoice portal. So e-invoice portal is as good as freezed. Maximum, they have provided you some time limit. If you feel your e-invoice is wrong, you can maximum cancel it. That also within time limit. Otherwise, there is no scope for amendment. But if you still want to correct it because there is some slight typographical mistake, then what will happen when this e-invoice details, which was uploaded in the e-invoice portal, gets auto-populated in your GSTR1, you can update it, amend it in your GSTR1. But pay attention. Now, government is moving towards locking the GSTR1, which means you cannot amend the GSTR1, which today you were able to do because when this data gets auto-populated, you are allowed to amend the GSTR1. Tomorrow, when GSTR1 will be locked, then they have provided you another document called as GSTR1A, which is for correcting what you have shown in GSTR1. So if your GSTR1 gets locked and you are not able to amend GSTR1, the amendment can be done in GSTR1A. So I think, Preeti, I have answered your question completely. Mahi, 1 and 1A both are different. One is your main sales return. 1A will be the document that is given so that you can make corrections in one. So when you file GSTR1, if you realize that some mistakes have happened which you want to correct, or now as I'm saying, GSTR1 will be auto-locked, that is, you cannot do any corrections. In that case, for correcting anything in GSTR1, you have another document called as 1A, so both are different. No, beta, nothing gets auto-corrected. You have to correct it by using one of these forms. If you have not used one of these forms, it will not get auto-corrected. ठीक है. Now, Abhishek, sir, please explain maximum time limit available for declaring the credit note in GST return. Yes. So, let us see. If, let us say, I have prepared my credit note in the financial year 23-24, which is over by 31st of March 24, then either I should have reported the credit note in the respective month in which I prepared, or maximum I can report it after the end of the financial year up to 30th of November, or filing of my annual return, whichever is earlier. This is the time limit for credit note. This is the time limit for availing ITC. This is the time limit for amending GSTR1, amending GSTR1 3B. For all these things, the time limit is same. That is after the end of financial year, 30th November, or filing of annual return, whichever is earlier. Generally, people file annual return after that because last date for annual return is 31st of March, 31st of December, that is today. So by default, practically it becomes 30th of November. Saba, beta, whatever is your doubt on any page number, please, if possible, show me the page. It would be easy. Pallavi is asking, sir, consecutive serial number 16 digit, IR and 64 digit. See, 16 digit serial number means when you are preparing your invoice, when you are preparing any of the document, on that document, you have to put a serial number, a series. Like if you go to market and you buy anything, you see the bill number as 1468. So they have used 4 digits. Here the government allows you to use up to 16 digits. Correct? So maximum length given is 16 digits, which is for your documents. Now, when you upload the details of this document on the e-invoice portal, when they process the document and they update the document in their records, and they give you the acknowledgement number has 64 digits, which is called as the IRA. Pallavi, I hope I answered your question. Manoj is asking, sir, in PGP chapter, you have given instruction that whatever net profit, we have to deduct the other head income. Which kind of specific income and expense we have to add it? Deduct the other head expense and income part is clear, but what type of incomes and expense we have to add in PGP? But what types of incomes and expense you add in PGP? Incomes you add those like 41. 41 is what? It is deemed income, where in past year you had claimed some expenses. Now those expenses are refunded. PGBP treats it as income. Second, you add those incomes which are belonging to PGP head, but because of errors of omission, they have been omitted in accounts. That is what is the incomes that you are going to add. So I hope I have made clear, Manoj. Still, if there is any particular, as you mentioned that while solving sums, you didn't understand the reason for it. If you can pinpoint me any one point, I'll give you the reason. But this is the main reason. Sir, in partner's account, it will be net. But in case of firm's account, will we show the gross amount of the same? Hardik, I'm not able to connect your question with what? You are asking in partner's account, it will be net, but in firm's account, we will show gross. Yes, Ankit. So whatever is your doubt, please ask your doubt relating to debit credit note. Kasak, sir, if you issue debit note anytime, even after 13th November, we can issue it and upload it in GSTR1. Yes, beta. Because see, debit note increases your liability. So see the logic. Where you are increasing the liability, government is okay with that because that much extra tax they are eligible to get. So they have not kept any time limit for debit note. So debit note can be uploaded anytime, even after 10 years. Credit note can be uploaded maximum by this due date of 30th of November. Tambeshwari, casual and regular employee. In this case, regular employee is included in 80 JJA. You are right, beta. Hardik, sir, in partner's account, it will be net. But yeah, you have copy pasted your point again. I'm still not getting the link of this question. Kambeshwar, you sent some doubts. Let me check. Acha, you have sent earlier. But I think I answered your earlier. Kambeshwar, there is only one upload that you have done earlier. Who issues debit and credit note? In GST, debit notes, credit notes are given only by the supplier. In accounts, we have studied that if one person is giving debit note, the other person gives corresponding credit note, and vice versa. There is no such rule in GST. In GST, it is only the supplier who gives credit note. When I'm saying debit note, credit note is given only by supplier, I'm talking about the GST debit note, credit note, which will be uploaded in the GST returns. See, besides these debit note, credit notes, parallelly, you can issue your accounting debit note, credit note for your accounting purposes. That is not a problem, Ankit. But when we are talking about uploading in the GST returns, it will be only of the debit note, credit notes, which are of GST. Yes. Let me know your further doubts, students. Any topic, any question? How many TDS sections and out of how many in interlevel? Then, beta, simple answer. The TDS sections given in your intermodule are the one applicable to us at our intermediate level. Remaining you may ignore. Okay. Uh, Kasim is asking, sir, please explain 194I of cold storage. Okay. See, 194I is, if I am not wrong, relating to rent. Now here you have asked me to explain you 194I of cold storage. Are you referring to a particular circular issued? Yes, beta. Kasim, are you referring to a particular circular issued? Yes. Good. Now I understood your question. See, when you are keeping your goods in cold storage, there is a circular which discusses as to what is the correct section of deducting TDS. Can anybody tell me which is the correct section for deducting TDS when you have kept your goods in cold storage and you are paying the cold storage charges? Yes, yes, perfect. Vishmita, Pallavi, Nitish, Hardik, it is 194C. Now, I think this is what is your question, Kasim, that whether it is 194C, yes, correct, Anjali, Tambeshwari, Kasak, Dilip, Anil, Shibu, perfect. So now basically, I think your question is why it is 194C, why it is not 194I, correct? Am I getting your question, Bida? Okay. See, understand this. When you are keeping your goods in a cold storage, what is the nature of service that you are getting? Is it a renting service or is it a service where the warehouse keeper or the store cold storage owner has or is providing you the service of safekeeping and security of your goods, maintaining the goods in the correct condition and quality? The answer is it is maintaining the goods in correct condition and quality. It is not a renting service. What is a renting service? When you take a flat or a shop on rent, you are given the flat or shop in your control. That is to say, you are given a defined area, you have the lock and key. You can always keep that particular area under your control and use as per your choice. However, when we go to a godown warehouse, or not godown, a warehouse, especially like a cold storage, you are not even allowed to enter inside because there are so many other person's goods. So you keep your goods at the particular place and the cold storage employees and staff, they take the goods from there and keep it at a proper place, which you do not even know where it is exactly kept. You do not have access. Even if you have access, you are allowed to go there and see how your goods are. You do not have any control over the place. That is why There is a circular in income tax and there is a parallel circular in GST, which says that whenever you give such premises on rent, where your intention is to provide a service like security, safety, safekeeping, and you are not giving the control of the space, then whatever charges you are taking will not be considered as rent of the immobile property. And since it is not rent of the immobile property, the correct TDS is not 194I, it will be contract. Because see, contract is 194C. Now, every other TDS like salary, like your this rent, professional fees, everything is a contract. Please understand, everything has come from contract. Now, the rule is first you will check whether for your case there is a specific TDS like for salary, like for professional fees, like for renting, like for commission. If yes, you deduct your TDS under those sections. If not, and it is contract for works, then you deduct TDS under 194C. Kasim, I hope I could clear your doubt. Ankit is asking goods transported in SKC CKD condition. Okay. See, I always give a simple answer. Yes, Apurva. Now, I always give a simple answer, a simple example to explain SKD CKD. What is that? Let us say I am selling you windmill. I'm sure everybody would have seen windmill. If not, then go to some Mela. In Mela, in our childhood, we used to buy that particular thing. We hold it in our hand, and when we run, it starts rotating. That small thing is the what you say prototype of windmill. Windmill is some 100 feet high, and it is having huge pillar on which that particular entire windmill is installed. Now pay attention. In case of windmill, I am selling you one commodity, which is windmill. I'm manufacturing it in my factory, but it has to be installed in your premises, whatever land or whatever place you're asking me to install. Now, my factory and that premises 100 kilometers far. I have to send it to that particular place through transportation. When I'm transporting it to that particular place, there is no truck which can carry such 100 feet height windmill plus with the wings, which are also around some 30-40 feet. In such a case, what I do is I break that into small parts, such in such a manner that they can be transported, they can be loaded, unloaded. So when any huge material, which may be a machine, which may be an equipment, which may be a big statue, it has to be transported from one place to another. It is broken down into parts. When it is broken down into parts, it is called as SKD or CKD. SKD is semi-knockdown, CKD is complete knockdown. Semi-knockdown means where you are making only broad pieces. That is semi-knockdown. And when you are making very small pieces, like completely dismantling it, like how it happens in case of bicycle. Bicycle, when it comes to the bicycle shop, it comes in all parts separated. That is what is called a CKD, complete knockdown condition. SCN beta is show cause notice. We give charges, not rent. Correct, you're right. Manoj, sir, can we sell byproducts through delivery challan because it is not our main product? No, beta. Whatever item is having GST, wherever GST is applicable, you will have to use tax invoice. Where GST is not applicable, like it is exempt or you are covered under composition scheme, you will use bill of supply. And where temporarily there is no supply, it is only a movement of goods, you are just sending the goods, there is no sale yet, then you use delivery challan. That is the difference. Shiv Kumar is asking, sir, tax invoice include freight charge amount 30,000. If TDS can applicable for freight, okay. So in my invoice, I've included freight of 30,000. Now the question is whether TDS is applicable. Answer is we have a concept in GST of composite supply. A similar logic is used in accounting and even income tax. So let us say as a seller, I'm selling you goods of rupees 5 lakhs. And I'm also arranging the transport for which, as per your and my understanding, I will be charging you some 30,000 rupees. What is your example? So in my invoice, I say goods 5 lakhs and transport 30,000. I charge you 5 lakh 30,000. Now, in the eyes of GST, this becomes a composite supply where you give the treatment of sale of goods to the entire 5 lakh 30,000. This is what is composite supply. Same logic applies in income tax TDS also. Here, for the purpose of TDS, this 30,000 is not considered separately as freight. For you, the total value 5 lakh 30,000 is for goods, and where 194Q TDS is applicable, which is for goods, then only you will deduct TDS, that also on 5 lakh 30,000, applying the logic of composite supply. Second point, now in this case, the transport which I have charged you 30,000, I am getting the transport done from a transporter who is going to raise that transport invoice on me. Now between me and transporter, there is this particular contract of transport where I'm paying him 30,000, where when I'm making payment to him, I will apply the logic of TDS on transport and I will be deducting his TDS under the transport category. Yes, Nitin, give me some time. I'll come to your point. I hope Shiv Kumar have answered you. Hardik, I'll answer you. Shibu is asking for this subject. We have to remember each and every rule. See, I will not say each and every rule, but at least all important chapters you should remember. And as far as possible, try to remember maximum rules. See, even during my exams, it wasn't possible for me as a student to learn, study, and even remember each and every chapter from each and every subject. See, you're not giving one paper, you are giving so many, you are giving 6 papers, which has around 8, 9 subjects because different subjects are combined into one. Like this paper itself has 2 different subjects. So it may not be possible for each and every person to remember each and everything. Everybody has a different capacity of understanding and retention. So don't worry, but try to remember maximum possible things. Correct? Sabha is asking, what is ITC claim? See, I buy some goods or service where the supplier is raising invoice of 1 lakh plus GST of 18%, which is 18,000. So I'm paying to the supplier 1 lakh 18,000. Now, this 1,18,000 which I have paid to the supplier includes 18,000 towards GST. This 18,000 towards GST is my input side tax. Input side tax means the tax which is applicable on my inputs, whatever I'm purchasing. It may be import, input service, or capital goods. Now, this tax I'm eligible to set off whenever I have to pay tax on my output. This set off is possible because firstly, you are given the benefit of the tax which you have paid on input. That is what is called as input tax credit. And when you are allowed to take this input tax credit in your books, showing it as your input tax credit, which is your asset, that is what is called as input tax credit claim. So claim means you are asking the government, you are taking that much amount from the government as a benefit. That is what is input tax credit claim. Student, just give me 10 minutes. I'll just take 10 minutes break. Then I'll come back. I have a common request to explain you block credits. So we will discuss that. Don't worry, I'll give you some interesting shortcuts to remember those things. Just give me 10 minutes. Okay. So let me go to your doubts. Sir, how LUT bond works? Sunny, I did not get this question. What you want to understand from this, how does LUT bond works means what? It is used for exports. Whenever I'm exporting, I have an option of exporting with payment of tax, that is I export and I pay tax to the government and I again get it back as a refund. This is called as export with IGST payment. Second, I export and I do not make any IGST payment on that, but as a security, as a confirmation to the government giving my assurance key, I am a genuine exporter and these are export only. I give them a sort of security which is called as LUT, that is letter of undertaking, where I undertake that, okay, I'm an exporter and I'm exporting these goods or services. That is what is LUT. Sir, in TDS, when does the turnover limit for individual and HF arise? See, generally in all TDS, excepting few, like salary, winnings, 194M, excepting these few, in all other cases, whenever individual and HF is making the payment, they are liable to deduct TDS only if their turnover has exceeded the tax audit limit. So see, basic idea is what, Vishmita. Understand the logic behind that. See, you and me as individuals are day in, day out making so many expenses. And we are not working like a company or like a partnership firm which is created artificially for the purpose of running a business or doing a business. So we are natural persons, individual and HF are natural persons, whereby we are existing naturally and naturally we are also doing our work for the purpose of earning. That is why there is a possibility that we may not be having a very formalized and structured way of running business, that is maintaining books, because many times it is that we are ourselves running our business without much staff. Now, in this case, if my turnover is below the tax audit limit, there is a possibility I may not be maintaining proper set of books. And that is where they are also not putting me the burden of TDS, because doing TDS is very, very stringent work. Because whenever I make any of the payments which are liable for TDS, I need to deduct TDS. Monthly, I have to go and deposit it. And even worst, I have to file the TDS returns informing each and every individual line item details to the government. So it is a very tedious job. So TDS is very tedious. So they have kept individuals and HUF who are having small businesses outside the TDS requirement. Tameshwari, please, where have you sent your doubt? I cannot see any upload from your side, but I accept the first one. See, beta, Hardik, you are asking me how 194T will be there. For that matter, understand one simple thing. I am the firm, you all are my partners. When I'm making payment of remuneration to you, I am required to deduct TDS. Now, how it will reflect? It will reflect like any other payment, any other TDS. Mean to say, since I'm crediting this remuneration in your account, in your means in the partner's account, in that particular case, let us say the remuneration is 100. The TDS, let us say I have to deduct is 10%. So what I will do is I will be crediting your account with 90 rupees, which is saying that it is towards your remuneration. And also the 10 rupees which I have to give you as remuneration will be shown as your TDS. See, this is how TDS for any other case happens. You keep this firm and partner concept aside. Think about TDS of a salaried person. If you are making payment of salary to a person whose salary is 100 rupees and you have to deduct TDS, what will happen? You will debit the salary account with 100 because your expense is 100. But cash or bank employee payment is 90 and TDS payable is 10. So this is how you pass the TDS entry throughout the month. Then at the end of the month, in the next month by 7th, when you have to go and deposit the TDS, all this TDS payable, TDS payable, TDS payable, which you had credited, showing it as your liability will be debited and to bank. So the entire TDS of the month will be deposited with the government. Yes, beta. So remuneration, see, wapas, keep aside remuneration, Hardik. Think of salary. You tell me, salary account will show gross or net. That is the same answer for remuneration. Obviously. So it has to show gross because expense which will be booked in my P&L has to be gross. Only payment wise, the person to whom I'm making payment gets the net because the balance TDS is also going to appear in his name. So to that extent, tomorrow that person has to pay less income tax on his or her income. So as I said, salary debit 100, employee को payment किया, so to bank 90 and to TDS payable 10. Correct, beta? Same thing happens for remuneration. Only instead of to bank for payment, you will write to partner's capital account. So that will be created by 90. Sir, one doubt, if a person supplying goods as well as service, but they are not bundled together, it will be composite supply or simple taxable supply.
Hello,
See,
sir.
if they are, sorry,
Hello, sir. This session is started now.
please be loud, beta.
ये अभी शुरू हुआ है क्या सेशन?
Huh?
ये सेशन अभी शुरू हुआ है क्या?
Beta, the session is going on since 2:30. Why?
मैं न्यू स्टूडेंट हूँ इसलिए.
Sorry?
I am a new student. That's why today only I have joined.
Okay, beta. Sorry, I was answering whose question. Yeah. One doubt, if person supplying goods as well as service, but they are not bundled together, it will be composite or simple supply. See, Kasak, if things are not bundled, then there is no question of it becoming a composite supply. Understand one thing. I think you are mixing between whether the things are bundled and whether they are shown separately in the invoice. So the things may be bundled, but I may show it as separate line item like I am supplying goods to you worth rupees 5 lakhs, where I have also provided you the loading, unloading, which is 5,000. I have also provided you transportation, which is 30,000. And I have also provided you some special packing, which is 10,000. Now, in this case, in my invoice, I'm showing separate line items, but I'm doing all the things together for you, which is part of my supply. So the supply is bundled, but it is shown separately in my invoice. So supply is bundled means what? I am not giving you one thing. I, as one supplier, is giving you four things at the same time. One is goods, one is the transportation, one is the loading, unloading, one is the packing. And for all this, in my invoice, I have shown separate line items. Now, in this particular case, whether it will be a composite supply or whether it will be an independent four supplies, the answer is that depends upon the nature. If you have shown these items separately in your invoice, one thing is for sure, it cannot become a mixed supply, because for anything becoming mixed supply, it should never be shown separately. There should be one single price. That means you should have shown goods including freight, total you should have shown the amount. If you are showing the breakup, it cannot be mixed. Now, if it is not mixed, then the only question that you have asked which remains is whether it will be either composite or independent supplies. That depends upon the nature. Nature means where I am providing all these things as a part of single supply. That is, our contract includes all these things. We have agreed that I'll do all these things for you. Fun. Second, and providing all these things together is in the normal course of business, which they have called as naturally bundled, which means generally in our line of business, all these things are provided together. Then once both these conditions are satisfied, it becomes a composite supply. Okay, Tambeshwari, I'll be doing that. Pallavi, like we made entry for debenture. Yes. Okay. Vishmita, 50 lakhs for profession income, 1 crore for business income, right, sir? In case of IND and HF turnover. Yes, that is what is for, you're talking about the limits, na? Tax audit limits. Yes, correct. Vishmita, you're right. Okay. Now, I think I've answered everybody's question. Now I'll take a question which will take a bit some time, maybe even end of this session. That is what is about blocked ITC. Before that, one more small question I'll take so that even if we conclude with this one last big question, everybody's question is answered. Tambeshwari, you have asked ITC reversal and reavail. Can you tell process? Acha. So you know when reversal and reavail happens. That happens in case of two cases. First, 180 days rule. Second is where your supplier has not paid tax and the next year's 30th September has happened. So till now, if he has not paid tax, by 30th of November, you have to reverse. And in future, whenever he pays tax, you can reavail. Now, in both these cases, what is the process? The process is when you avail ITC, you show it in that particular table or in the name of ITC availed. And when you have to reverse in the same table, you show it in another column in the category of ITC reversed. Now, if I have to tell you from accounting perspective, when we are availing the credit, we are debiting the ITC account. When we are reversing the credit, we are crediting the ITC amount. In another simple language, availing means taking credit. Reversing means returning back the credit or reducing the credit. Now, when you have reversed, you have reduced the credit by crediting your ITC ledger in your books. When you want to re-avail, you again re-debit it. In mathematical sense, you add that much amount to your ITC balance. That is what is re-avail process. Okay. Now, the question which I had been asked at the start, and I just kept it towards the end because it is a lengthy question, that is about blocking of ITC. Section 17.5. Now, Section 17.5 has said that even though you satisfy the conditions given in Section 16, read with respective rules, that is, you have satisfied all requirements of getting the ITC. Still, for few items, I do not want to allow ITC. Now, see, I always explain ITC provisions in this manner. Section 16 is mother, 17 is father, and 18 is your siblings, that is brothers and sisters. 16 is mother because it is kind like mother, saying that, okay, beta, I'm giving you this benefit. Like mother, it gives you the benefit, but as in today's scenario, it is very important that you put some conditions, you put some uh, restrictions. Mother also does that. She puts some condition. Okay, you want this benefit, you do this. Behave well, speak in a proper manner, do your studies, attend to some housely work. If you do all this, I will give you this benefit. Similarly, section 16, like a kind mother, compassionate mother, says that you fulfill all these conditions, I will give you the credit, I'll give you the benefit. 17 is like your strict father who says no. No means no. Despite of whatever mama said, despite of whatever you have done, I will not give you this benefit. I don't give you permission for a night out for 4 or 5 days with your friends, and especially not with this category of friends. So that is how father is strict. Same is section 17. Plus section 17 also does one thing. For few ITC, it will say I'm not completely blocking, but I will allow you the ITC partly or proportionately. Now in this, the question that is asked by 3 different students at multiple times is about blocking of ITC, which is under section 17.5. So 17.5 is where your dad says no. Even your mama has allowed, even if you have done all the conditions, you have behaved well, you have listened to everyone, you have studied, still I will not allow you to do this. That is where ITC blocking 17.5 comes into picture. Now, what is covered in 17.5? First 3 clauses of 17.5 deals with vehicle credits. 3 types of conveyances are covered: motor vehicle, aircraft, vessel. So you can say all 3 modes of transport are covered: road, air, water. Now, when you have purchased any motor vehicle, then you have to check what I'm going to say. Now, whatever I'm saying is also applicable for aircraft and vessel. So first check, you can draw a graph like this. Is it is a goods carriage or it is a passenger vehicle? If it is a goods vehicle, that it is used for carriage of goods, ITC is always allowed. So there is no restriction on getting ITC for a goods vehicle. So if your vehicle is a goods transport vehicle like trucks, like those chota hathi, trailers, for all this ITC is always allowed, no conditions, no restriction. But if it is a passenger vehicle, then two categories again. So within passenger vehicle, two subcategories. First subcategory is, are you going to use this vehicle to make your outward supply? In other words, क्या आप इस vehicle से पैसे कमाने वाले हैं? Now, how do you earn money from this vehicle? What are the examples given? There are three things given. One, this vehicle which you are purchasing today will be for making outward supply. That is, you are going to make supply of this vehicle. So like you are a dealer of motor vehicle, आपने जो गाड़ी खरीदी वो आपने बेचने के लिए खरीदी. Second, you are in the business of touring and traveling where you are going to use this vehicle in which you are going to take your customers or all the travelers to different places and you are going to charge them some fare. So second, how you are going to earn with this vehicle? You are going to run it as a tourist vehicle. Third, how you are going to earn money or do supply from this vehicle? You are going to use this vehicle for teaching the students how to drive. So you are a motor driving school. So goods vehicle, credit always allowed. Passenger vehicle, two parts. What are the two parts? Is your vehicle used for earning money? Is your vehicle making outward supplies? And your vehicle makes outward supplies in these three manners. You are going to sell the vehicles, you are going to use it as tourist vehicle, or you are going to teach driving to people using your vehicle. If your vehicle is any of these three, credit is always allowed. Then we left with the second part. So passenger vehicle, another part. Your vehicle is not going to be used in these three manner. It means you are going to use the vehicle for your own purposes. Now, when I'm saying own, I do not mean personal, because personal anyways ITC is not allowed by mother itself. That is section 16 itself do not allow ITC. If you are going to use this vehicle in your business for your own traveling, for your traveling of your employees and all, then the next condition comes, is your vehicle up to 13-seater capacity or is your vehicle above 13-seater capacity? So above 13-seater capacity is what? Tempo travelers, minibus and bus. So it is a passenger vehicle. It is not used for earning money. Then you have to check the 13-seater capacity rule. If your vehicle is above 13-seater capacity rule, as I gave example of tempo traveler, minibus, bus, credit is allowed. If your vehicle is below or up to 13-seater capacity, it will not be eligible for ITC. So all the motor cars, two-wheelers, three-wheelers that we use for business only. I'm not using it for personal. I'm using that vehicle for coming and going to office, for going to all my meetings, or I'm giving it to my employees for either their traveling purposes. It will not be allowed. Similar rule applies for vessels, that is ships, and aircraft, that is planes. Then in this same point, another clause says that you have some expenses relating to these vehicles. What are those? Insurance, repairs, maintenance. Now, when you are incurring any of these expenses of insurance, repairs, maintenance, again, the credit of this is allowed if the credit of original motor vehicle is allowed. So where the credit of original motor vehicle is allowed, the expenses credit is allowed. Where the credit of original motor vehicle is not allowed, the expenses credit is also not allowed. Any doubts or questions up to this point? This is about the motor car or motor vehicle credit. Done? Great, Nathan. I think you also had a question. Now coming to the second category. Category B, clause B. Now clause B has given list of some expenses. I'll give you a simple logic. If I look at entire section 17.5, in clause A, which I just discussed about motor vehicle, in clause B, the point is that there is a scope, there is a possibility that that expense, even though you are showing it as of business, can be for personal use. This is the logic behind the law disallowing you credit. Now see what is the list of expenses covered in B: food and beverages, outdoor catering, beauty treatment, healthcare, traveling, that is when your employees are on vacation. Now, if you look at this list, insurance or motor car taken on credit, sorry, not credit, on hire. In all these cases, what you observe is that all these expenses are such that there is a scope that you may be using it for personal use. But as what we see normally in India, what people do, you're going out today for 31st Eve party, you're going out with your friends, you go to some restaurant, have good time, and you ask the restaurant person to give you invoice in your company's name, in your GST number's name, you give your company details, and they raise invoice in your company. Now, in this particular case, this food expenses, this restaurant expenses is actually your personal expense, but you're showing it as your company's expense, which helps you both in income tax also and in GST also. Government does not want this to happen. So they have simply said that ITC is blocked. Now again in clause B, for all these expenses, there are two exceptions where ITC will be allowed. First exception is same like clause A. What? Where you are going to earn money from this, where this itself will become your outward supply, credit is allowed. Like, why you have bought food and beverage? Because your business is selling foods and beverage, like you are a caterer. So for providing your outward catering service, you have purchased food items, you have purchased beverages. So it has become your input for making your outward supply. Or as I said, उसी से आप पैसे कमाने वाले. So when these expenses will earn income for you, then the ITC for them is allowed. ये same rule motor car में भी था, ये same rule clause B में भी है, C और D में भी है. So wherever any specific item is disallowed, the answer is where you are going to use that item for earning income, that item will become your outward supply, credit will be allowed. So any of these items like beauty products, why you are buying beauty products? Because you are running a salon. So these beauty products would be used in the salon for giving or making your outward supply of beauty treatment. Then credit of beauty products is allowed. Same is insurance. Your outward supply is of insurance. That is why you're taking inward insurance. Credit is allowed. So first exception for clause B items is where all these expenses are going to earn income for you. All these expenses will also become your outward supply. Credit is allowed. Second, for clause B, there is a very important second exception where these are purely expense. They will not become your income or you will not earn money from this. But these expenses you are incurring because it is a compulsion made by some act that as an employer you have to do all this. Like you have to provide a canteen for your employee, you have to provide health facility for your employee. If your business in such that because of the nature of business, your employees develop some rashes or they have some skin problem or they have hair loss, then you have to also get their beauty treatment done. In this case, where doing any of these expenses for your employees is a statutory obligation, means it is a compulsion put by some law, state law, central law, local law, whatever, but it is a compulsion. That is what is called as a statutory obligation. Then credit will be allowed. This is about clause B items. I hope it is clear. In clause B, there is one item for which there is a third exception. So for all items in clause B, these two exceptions are common. For this item, first two exceptions are there. Third exception is also there. What is this item? You are taking motor vehicle on hire. So you are hiring, leasing motor vehicle. अपनी भाषा में आपने गाड़ी भाड़े पे ली. Now, when you are taking a motor vehicle on hire, on lease, whether the GST paid on that will be eligible as ITC. Answer is simple. Go back to clause A. The ITC is allowed for some vehicles, it is not allowed for some vehicles. Now, when you buy a vehicle, whether the ITC is allowed or not is clause A. Same rule, if the vehicle is taken on hire, lease or rent, you come in clause B. And the same rule, what we studied in clause A applies to clause B. So the vehicles for which on purchase credit is allowed in clause A, for the same vehicles on taking on rent, credit will be allowed in clause B. For the vehicles for which credit is blocked on its purchase in clause A, for the same vehicle, if you take it on rent, the credit will be blocked in clause B. See, the logic is simple. मैं आपको कोई चीज को खरीदने पे ब्लॉक कर रहा हूं मगर रेंट पे लेने के लिए अलाउ कर रहा हूं. सो पीपल विल डू व्हाट? They will themselves not buy. They will ask some of their friend to buy and give it to them on rent so that they will get the credit. So simple logic. Where on purchase credit is blocked in clause A, for the same vehicle on taking on rent or hire or lease, the credit will be blocked. Is this clear? Clause B is complete. Anybody? Any questions? Nitish, beta, I read. Just give me some time because now I'm into something. I'll complete this. If time permits, I'll take it today itself. Then comes, okay, some questions are there. In case of car below 13-seater given on rent to government office, what is the difference between giving to government office and not giving to government office? First question is whether government office will require ITC. Because many times when the government office is working, it is not having any outward supply. Many times, whatever outward supply the government office is making, it is covered under RCM, so they don't have to pay tax. So there is no question that when you are giving the car to a government office, whether there will be ITC allowed to government office or not, because otherwise also government office may not require ITC, Bhaskar. I hope I've answered your question. Abhishek is asking, does statutory obligation include circular mandatory by local authority? See, statutory obligation, if I'm not wrong, they have used the word in that clause as statutory obligation. I think they have used the word government. And whenever the word government is used, it is only central or state. So I just need to recheck if they have used the word government. If they have not used the word government, then even local authority is applicable. Shibu beta, I'm taking one topic. How can I take the other topic in between? Let me complete this. I saw your message 10 minutes back also, but I'm taking this topic because this is the topic that has been asked to me right from start and by 3 or 4 students. So let me first complete this. Correct? Hardik, sir, I have a subletting business. Then also, sir, ITC will be allowed. See, anyways, if your car is more than 13-seater, Hardik, your ITC is allowed in all cases. The only challenge is where your car is up to 13-seater. Now, if your business is subletting, then 100% ITC is allowed. Simple logic. आप उस गाड़ी से अगर पैसे कमाने वाले हो, what they have said, if you are using it for making outward supply, credit is allowed. So if your business is subletting, you are going to make outward supply of that car itself in the form of subletting. Credit will be allowed to you. Correct, beta? And it is not about more than 30-seater. It is about less than 13-seater or up to 13-seater. Because if it is more than 13-seater, credit is allowed in all cases. There is no challenge at all. Clause A done, double A, B done, clause B done. Now we come to clause C and D. Both deals with expenses on construction, renovation, repairs, modernization, reconstruction. So when you're doing any of these expenses, whether ITC is allowed or ITC is blocked, that is what is covered in C and D. Now, what is the difference between C and D? In C, for doing this construction, reconstruction, repair, modernization, you have given the contract to a works contractor, and everything is done by the works contractor. That is, the works contractor will purchase all the materials. Works contractor will hire all type of workers and laborers and architects and engineer, and he will give you one bill of works contract. That is what is clause C. What is clause D? Where the works contractor is not hired and you are incurring all expenses by yourself. So you are purchasing steel, you are purchasing bricks, you are purchasing different types of tiles and paints and everything. Then you are hiring the unskilled workers, you are hiring the engineers, you are making payment to architects. That is, you are doing the construction by yourself. By yourself means not with your own hands, but everything is done by you. So in your books, what are the expenses that are being booked? There are different types of expenses being booked. That is the difference between C and D. But the output of both is, if this construction, reconstruction, repair, renovation, modernization results in an immobile property, then you come to clause C and D. If it results in a movable property, there is no blocking at all. Credit is always allowed. If it results in immovable property, then what we have to do? Then again, two parts. First part. So firstly, this is construction, repair, renovation, etc. of immovable property. If it is of movable property, you don't come to clause C and D. Credit is always allowed. If it is of immovable property, then you have to see whether it is capitalized or whether it is expense. Like generally for repairs, renovation, we may treat it as P&L, that is a revenue expense. If it is a revenue expense, credit is always allowed. Second possibility, is it a capital expense? If it is a capital expense, two parts, whether it is plant and machinery or it is any other capital asset like building, factory, shop, etc. If it is plant and machinery, even though it is capital, but since it is plant and machinery, credit is always allowed. But if it is other than plant and machinery, like shop, godown, office, factory, then the problem is the problem is that the credit would be blocked. So construction of immobile property, two parts, whether P&L or whether balance sheet. If P&L, allowed. If balance sheet, check whether it is plant and machinery or any other capital asset. If plant and machinery, credit is allowed. If any other capital asset, credit is blocked. And again, the common exception, what? If this is going to earn income for you. That is, you are a builder developer. So why you have constructed this building and all? Because you are going to sell it. In that case, credit will be allowed. Subject to the other rules, like for residential, credit may not be allowed. But other than residential, credit is allowed. This is what is clause C and clause D. Am I clear? So I've covered majority all clauses. Then after this, all are small clauses like for NRTP, credit is blocked except for imported goods. All other items, credit is blocked. Then if you're buying from composition, credit is blocked. If you have paid taxes under 74, which is for fraud cases, credit is blocked. If you are using the goods for personal use, credit is blocked. And most important, under section 17(5)(h), where your goods are lost, destroyed, written off, or you have given it away as gift or as free sample, credit is blocked. This is entire 17(5) ITC blocked. Now I'll come to another doubt of Nitish. Sir, section 71A, schedule 2, para 1, case second entry. But a para 1 is the first entry. Now schedule 2 you said, para 1, second entry. And para 5, sixth entry. जो कि राइट्स के बारे में है, ये समझा दीजिए बेटा. कैन यू जस्ट टेल मी व्हाट द राइट्स आर टॉकिंग अबाउट? इफ यू कैन हेल्प मी विद द राइट्स आई कैन एक्सप्लेन यू. नीतीश इज अगेन आस्किंग सर, तो फिर रैपिडो जो बाइक्स खरीदते हैं फॉर बिजनेस पर्पस, तो आईटीसी उस पे भी अलाउड? यस बेटा, आईटीसी फर्स्टली इन प्रिंसिपल इज अलाउड. सेक्शन 17(5) इज नॉट ब्लॉकिंग द आईटीसी फर्स्ट, बट सेकंड इज यू हैव टू सी व्हेन दे आर यूजिंग दिस रैपिडो फॉर. नीतीश बेटा, राइट्स बहुत सारे हैं, आप पर्टिकुलरली कौन से राइट्स की बात कर रहे हैं? यू हैव टू मेंशन मी द नेम सो दैट आई कैन एक्सप्लेन यू. क्योंकि आपने राइट्स टू यूज एंड राइट्स टू यूज ही बोला है, मुझे दोनों का फर्क नहीं समझा. और यू कैन शो मी द प्रिंट और यू कैन जस्ट टाइप. ओके, आई वाज आंसरिंग हुज क्वेश्चन. हाँ, रैपिडो. सो बेटा, रैपिडो 17(5) विल नॉट ब्लॉक बिकॉज आप उससे आउटवर्ड सप्लाई करने वाले हो. 17(5) हैज नो प्रॉब्लम. बट व्हेन यू गो टू द रेट शेड्यूल, there is a problem where the rate schedule says in many cases that where your output rate is 5%, the credit is blocked. Or in case of Rapido, if the tax is payable by e-commerce operator, then you as the person who owns the bike, credit may not be allowed. So 17(5) को अभी Rapido bike के credit से problem नहीं है, but because of rate schedule or because of 9(5) where your tax is now payable by the e-commerce operator, there will be a challenge. Sir, on own account works contract, it is always blocked ना? Yes, that is what I said ना बेटा. आप जहां पे बिल्डर डेवलपर हो, आप बेचने के लिए बना रहे हो, क्रेडिट इज अलाउड. एंड वेयर आप बिल्डर डेवलपर नहीं हो, तो आप अपने काम के लिए बना रहे हो. इट इज सेम लाइक द मोटर व्हीकल लॉजिक. इसलिए मैंने उसके लिए वर्ड क्या यूज किया है हार्दिक. आप जब इससे पैसे कमाने वाले हो, मोटर व्हीकल से या बिल्डिंग से, आपको क्रेडिट मिलेगा. जब आप वही मोटर व्हीकल या बिल्डिंग अपने बिजनेस में सिर्फ यूज करने वाले हो, जो आप वर्ड यूज कर रहे हो ऑन ओन अकाउंट, जो सी लैंग्वेज इज डिफरेंट, लॉजिक इज सेम. So if you understand this logic, it will be easy. Yes, Shibu, now you are asking me about RCM. Shibu, can you just tell me what exactly in RCM you want? Because in RCM, there are multiple entries. So basically, firstly, what is RCM? I'll explain. In that, if you have any specific question, please ask me. They have given a list of different expenses. So just visualize you are preparing your trading P&L account. See the debit side. On the debit side, you have many expenses, right? If your expenses is one of the items falling in the RCM notification list, that is, you have paid legal fees, you have paid sponsorship fees, you have paid security charges, you have paid hiring of some this charges. So if your input service, if your expenses is one of the items falling in the RCM list, point number one. Point number two, there are some conditions given in the RCM list when RCM would apply. So you are fitting in those conditions, you are fulfilling those conditions. So when both these conditions are satisfied, one, your expenses is one of the RCM items, that is the names given in the RCM list. And two, you are fulfilling the conditions given over there. When both these conditions are satisfied, when you are showing those expenses, you have to pay tax on the expenses yourself. Is this clear? Am I clear, beta? Shibu? This is the basic about RCM. Now tell me what particular RCM you want me to explain. सी कसक, when to use 5 years 5% per quarter, वो थोड़ा सा आपको ध्यान से पढ़ना है. Because in section 18 when you are going, section 18 में they are saying that you take the 5% per quarter वाला rule. So 5 years वाला rule is just for understanding purpose. For all calculation purposes, you take 5% per quarter wala rule. Correct? Nitish, I did not get what summary you want, beta. ITC claim करने के steps. See, basically steps simple है beta. You have to first check section 16 conditions. Are you a registered person? Do you have the tax invoice or the relevant document? Is the entry appearing in your GSTR 2B? That is, your supplier has shown it in his one and it is appearing in your 2B. Third, have you received the goods and services? Has the supplier paid tax? Have you filed the return? Now, besides this, there is one more condition, but it is not yet made effective. That is, your credit should not be blocked in section 38, but that is not yet made effective, so I'm not talking about that. If you have fulfilled all these conditions, then the second thing you have to check, am I fitting in any of section 17.5 list? Whether my expenses are one of those items. If yes, again, credit will be not allowed. Yes, Kasak, generally you can understand like this. At least what is there in your syllabus, for that 5% per quarter rule is applicable. There is one more rule that is for computing it monthly, but that is under rule 43, which is for proportionate reversal, which is not part of your syllabus. Okay. Shibu Beda, you had asked for this RCM. So what exactly are you looking for? Is your query clear, or do you have any further queries in this? Good. Now, this question is pending. Nitish, your question, right to use and rights. See, what I understood from the question's name is, in one entry, they are talking about sale of rights. Like, when I am selling you my movable property, I am selling you the ownership rights, the complete rights of that particular movable property, which I think you are talking about para 1. Similarly, whenever I'm selling to you intangible assets like any of copyrights or this, again, one is rights where they mean कि आपको मैंने ओनरशिप दे दी कंप्लीटली, अब वो चीज आपकी हो गई. That is where it is supply of goods. Second, the other side, where you are saying rights to use. What is this rights to use? यही चीज मैंने आपको परमानेंटली नहीं दी, मैंने आपको इसके ओनरशिप या 100% राइट्स नहीं दी, मैंने आपको सिर्फ इसे यूज करने का परमिशन दिया है. लाइक व्हेन आई गिव समथिंग टू रेंट, give something on rent to you, I am not giving you the complete rights. You are not getting the complete rights. You are only getting the rights to use. That is, वो चीज मेरी ही है. I remain the owner, but I allow you the permission to stay there, to use there. That is what is right to use. I hope your question was this only, and I have answered it. Yes, Hardik. So Hardik has asked, sir, sponsorship RCM, can you give example? Hardik, you have given the best example. I'll take Hardik's RCM example only. The previous IPL, what was the name? It was, if I'm not wrong, Tata IPL. Correct? Prior to that, sometime we had the DLF IPL. So what is this? Whenever any of such event happens, some company wants to promote its name, its brand name. Yes, there was again Vivo IPL, right? So when they want to promote their brand name, what they do is they sponsor the event. Now there is a difference between advertising and sponsoring. When it is advertisement, I will ask you to put my banner, my hoarding somewhere. That is what is advertisement, right? Sponsorship is when I say I'm sponsoring your event, which means as good as your event becomes my event. So you are only running the event, but I am giving my name to the event. That is why we say Tata IPL, Vivo IPL, DLF IPL. So this is where the concept of sponsorship comes. So sponsoring means that your event is now getting my name. So whenever your event name will be used anywhere on hoardings, in newspaper, in any ads, wherever you will say IPL, you have to compulsorily use my name, Tata IPL. This is where we say that I have sponsored the event. Now, in this case, you are BCCI, who is running this event. I am, let us say, Tata, who is sponsoring this event. Now, how do I sponsor? I pay you some 500 crores as the sponsorship fees because IPL is today so famous that it will be used everywhere. The name IPL will be used on the t-shirts, on so many items which are sold in the market, everywhere in newspaper, on hoardings, wherever IPL word will be used, Tata will be used along with that. That is what is sponsorship. So to that extent, my name will get broadcasted. My name will get used. It will get spread to masses because see, whenever any jingle would be made or anything would be made, this word will start getting attached to IPL. So automatically, to that extent, my marketing is happening. My branding is happening. So I'm giving you this 500, and against that, what is the service you have given me? You will be using my name everywhere the word IPL will come. This is what is sponsorship. Now, this service which you have given to me is allowing my name to be put to your tournament, to your event. Now, in this particular case, the recent council meeting has proposed to bring it under forward charge. Whenever the notification comes, that we will see. As on date, it is under reverse charge, whereby I am the person who is making payment to you. I am showing it as my expense. As BCCI, you don't have to charge GST on forward charge. I will pay the expense to you in the form of 500 crore, the sponsorship fee, and at the same time, I will myself pay the 18% GST on that under RC. That is what is RCM on sponsorship. Is this understood? नीतीश आस्किंग तो सर ये दोनों ही सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस में क्यों माने जाएंगे सर? नो बेटा, ये दोनों ही सर्विस में माने जाएंगे ऐसा नहीं है. If your rights that you are selling is of movable property or of intangibles, it will always be supply of goods. So जहां पे आपने ओनरशिप दी है, आपने आउटराइट पूरे ओनरशिप वाले राइट्स दे दिए, टाइटल, ये जो वर्ड यूज होता है टाइटल, वो दे दिया है. And if that title is of what? The title is of movable properties or it is of intangibles, it will always be supply of goods. Hardik is asking, advertisement remains in FCM. Yes, beta. Advertisement and sponsorship are different. In advertisement, I will ask you कि भाई ये मैच में जो बाउंड्रीज है वहां पे साइड में जो बोर्ड्स लगते हैं वहां पे मेरे 10 बोर्ड्स लगा दो, उसके बदले में यू आर चार्जिंग मी 5 lakhs. या जैसे आप देखते हो ग्राउंड पे आजकल नाम लिखे रहते हैं, दैट इज व्हाट इज एडवर्टीजमेंट. सर ओआईडीआर की सर्विस पर तो फॉरवर्ड चार्ज लगता है, तो उनका यूआईएन से कैसे जीएसटी क्लेम होता है? यूआईएन, ओआईडीआर और यूआईएन क्या है बेटा? मींस आई नो व्हाट ओआईडीआर इज, उसका यूआईएन से संबंध क्या है? नीतीश, yeah, that's why I'm saying यूआईएन is for embassy transaction. That is why I'm asking ओआईडीआर का यूआईएन से संबंध क्या है? बेटा ऑर्डर, वही तो मैं आपको बोल रहा हूँ, आपने ऑर्डर को और यूआईएन को मिक्स क्यों किया है? यूआईएन इज अ डिफरेंट कॉन्सेप्ट. ऑर्डर इज सिंपल. आपने नेटफ्लिक्स का सब्सक्रिप्शन लिया है, where you have some content which is available on the Netflix platform. आप जब वो कंटेंट को यूज कर रहे हो by watching the movie, listening to music, that becomes order service where there is no human intervention. आपने ऑनलाइन ही उसको बुक किया, आपने ऑनलाइन पेमेंट किया, और आपने जो भी डिवाइस उसमें रजिस्टर किया, उस डिवाइस में आपको वो कंटेंट यूज करने को मिलता है इन द फॉर्म ऑफ, अगर कोई आपने बुक्स को सब्सक्राइब किया है तो आपको बुक्स आएंगे जो आप पढ़ सकते हो. आपने म्यूजिक का कोई ये चैनल या प्लेटफॉर्म सब्सक्राइब किया तो आप उसमें म्यूजिक सुन सकते हो. आपने कोई ये चैनल्स ओटीटी पे सब्सक्राइब किए तो आप वहाँ का जो भी कंटेंट है, मूवीज है, वेब सीरीज है, डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज है, आप वो देख सकते हो. दैट इज व्हाट इज ऑर्डर. हार्दिक, ऑनलाइन गेमिंग, या अभी अभी क्या हो गया, आफ्टर दिस ऑनलाइन मनी गेमिंग कॉन्सेप्ट, दे हैव रिमूव्ड ऑनलाइन मनी गेमिंग फ्रॉम ऑर्डर. सो दैट इज व्हाट इज नाउ द डिफरेंस. सो सिंपल, जो चीजें आपको ऑनलाइन कंटेंट आप यूज करते हो और जो फुल्ली ऑटोमेटेड है, जैसे अभी भी हम ये क्लास ऑनलाइन कर रहे हैं, मगर दिस इज नॉट फुल्ली ऑटोमेटेड. हियर आई एम टीचिंग, सो ह्यूमन इंटरवेंशन इज देयर. सो दिस ऑनलाइन क्लास कैन नॉट बी ऑर्डर. पर यही अगर क्लासेस में रिकॉर्ड कर देता हूँ, और रिकॉर्डिंग बाद में आप जाके पोर्टल से, बीओएस पोर्टल से आप सब्सक्राइब करके लेक्चर वाइज यू परचेस, then it will become order. But if you are attending these classes where you have purchased these classes, and the supplier, that is me, is supplying the services where human intervention is required for providing the service, it is not totally automated or totally system based, then it will not be order. It may be using online platform, but it does not becomes order. Fine, beta. So don't mix UI and an order. दैट इज वेयर दे हैव मेड प्रोविजंस. बेटा ऑर्डर में दो प्रोविजन है, आरसीएन भी है, फॉरवर्ड चार्ज भी है. वेयर ऑर्डर इज अंडर फॉरवर्ड चार्ज, तो देन अंडर आईजीएसटी एक्ट अंडर सेक्शन 14 they have made compulsory for order to register in India, and for that they have asked them to have their physical presence themselves or to appoint a person who will be doing everything on their behalf. अगर वो वैसा नहीं करते हैं तो गवर्नमेंट नाउ हैज दी पावर, और उनके पास वैसा टेक्नोलॉजी है कि वो आपका प्लेटफॉर्म ब्लॉक कर सकते हैं. तो फिर आपके प्लेटफॉर्म से यहाँ पे कुछ भी नहीं चलेगा. सो आपको अगर मेरे यहाँ पे कोई भी सर्विस प्रोवाइड करनी है ऑर्डर की, तो यू हैव टू हैव अ फिजिकल प्रेजेंस हियर. आप अपना ऑफिस खोलिए, या आप अपना कोई एक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव यहाँ पे अपॉइंट करिए, एंड दैट पर्सन वुड बी डूइंग द कंप्लायंस. दैट इज व्हाट इज द रूल फॉर ऑर्डर. Sameshwari, I did not get your question about ITC. ITC claim or no, this is what I'm not getting, बेटा. आप किसकी ITC की बात कर रहे हो? सी, अगर ऑर्डर आपका बिजनेस में यूज होने वाला है तो आईटीसी मिलेगा, पर्सनल है तो नहीं मिलेगा. सिंपल है वो तो. ऑर्डर में मैंने आपको जो एग्जांपल दिया वो पर्सनल वाले हैं, क्योंकि वो आप ऑलरेडी देख रहे हो. बट देर इज ऑर्डर, लाइक अगर मैंने कोई ऑनलाइन वेबसाइट सब्सक्राइब की है फॉर गेटिंग अपडेट्स एंड फॉर ऑल दिस टेक्निकल एनालिसिस, तो मेरे लिए तो ऑर्डर सर्विसेज आर और एलिजिबल फॉर आईटीसी, बिकॉज ये सारे ऑनलाइन वेबसाइट जिनको मैंने सब्सक्राइब किया है, दे आर ऑल यूज फॉर माई प्रोफेशन. करेक्ट. So that depends upon again the basic conditions given in section 16. Yes. What else are your questions, students? No further questions? Great. Thank you, Nitin Beda. Yes. Happy New Year to everyone. So thank you very much, students. It was really a very great session in terms of doubt solving. I enjoyed this more than the regular lectures because it is confined to one topic. but discussing different topics at the same time is more interesting and engaging. So thank you all for today. Yes, very happy new year to everyone. So keep studying, and yes, be active as you are today, so that whatever are your questions and doubts, you may always connect with any faculty and you can ask them. Thank you. Thank you very much. Take care and keep studying. I want everyone in flying colors in your May attempt. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yes, sir. We may close.